I'd like to call this meeting to order and to go into closed session. To prevent the disclosure of privileged information pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A1 and Chapter 115C, Article 21A of the North Carolina General Statutes, to consult with our attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3. Under NCGS 143-318.10 and 11 to review minutes from prior closed session minutes.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome, everyone, to the January 5th, 2017 Board of Education for Union County Public Schools. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We will move to item number 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, in lieu of an invocation, we will observe a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sides. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
We will now have the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I would like to remove from the consent agenda items 12F, 12G, and 12H and put them into the regular agenda.
I'd also like to remove the school calendar from the consent agenda.
Do you want to go ahead and sign those, please?
Okay, any other comments? Let's try to figure out where we want to put I know we have a budget calendar. Could we, no, we could put it after, we could put the school calendar maybe after the superintendent's report. So we will make the school calendar 2017-18 will be number 14. And as far as the 3 facilities contracts.
You could put them under the bond implementation schedule since they have to do with the bond, if you'd like.
So would you like to make that 15 ABC?
That would be great.
And I also have a couple of adjustments. On your budget preparation calendar, if you look under the date of April 24th, a BOE, BOCC joint meeting, that date is not hard and fast. That should actually be to be determined. I understand Dr. Houlihan and the county staff are still working on that date. I would also like to suggest shuffling items 16 and 18 kind of go hand in hand, but the transfer request for charter school funding, I believe, should go first. So if we want to move 18 to 16, 16 to 17, and 17 to 18, does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I did not follow you on the calendar, though. Is the calendar, we will just discuss that date when we get to it, correct?
We don't actually have a date yet. The correction should be, rather than the date of April 24th for the BOE BOCC joint meeting, that instead should be to be determined.
Okay, but it doesn't affect the agenda or the placement
No,
on the
ma'am, it's just
agenda.
this attachment of the actual calendar.
Okay. Okay, any other amendments to the agenda? Okay. I will accept a motion. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, next we will have the John H. Crowder Service Award. If all the board members will come to the front.
Gary, can I get you to slide this way some? Thank you. Ready?
Ready.
Each month, we recognize a high school student with the John H. Crowder Award for community service. This award is a living tribute to the late John H. Crowder, who spent more than 31 years serving the children of Union County. In order to receive this award, students must not only be academically successful, but also have established a history of community service in more than one area or with more than one organization. Tonight, we award the John H. Crowder Service Award to a very special young woman from Monroe High School. Thomasina McClendon, please come forward. I apologize. Thomasina, a senior at Monroe High School, has been an honor roll student every semester during her first years in high school. Her principal, Dr. Michael Harvey, said Thomasina's greatest attribute is her leadership skills, adding that she is an outstanding role model. Not only does she have an excellent character, she is also known for her acceptance of others and her determination. Thomasina is very active at her church, where she serves in the choir and on the usher board. She also does mission work and evangelism and teaches the youth at her church from kindergarten through 8th grade. She is also very active at Monroe High School. She has served on the students' government for 3 years and represents Monroe High School on the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council. Very good. She is also the chief editor for the school's yearbook. One of her accomplishments is being the recipient of the People's Choice Award. This recognition is given by Monroe High students to honor those peers who have the desired qualities of Monroe High School students, of a Monroe High School student. Thomasina has also been chosen as homecoming princess for the past 3 years. Very good. Received the superintendent's most approved award and won first place in the Martin Luther King Day essay competition sponsored by the NAACP. Congratulations, Thomasina, for being named the January John H. Crowder Service Award winner. We are extremely proud of you. Congratulations, young lady.
All right. The Union County Public Schools Employee of the Month Award recognizes employees in non-teacher, non-certified positions. It was created to honor those who have exemplary work and performance, those who promote positive morale, or possibly those who demonstrate initiatives and creativity that improve the operating efficiency of their department or their district or the district. Individuals can be nominated based on their performance, their customer service, or an individual incident that merits commendation. Our January recipient, Retta Threet, who works in the after-school department, is our award winner. Her supervisor, Suzanne Thompson, will come forward and introduce Ms. Street.
Good evening. Mrs. Threet was nominated for her exemplary service after stepping in to fill a program coordinator position for Deborah Byers, who was on family leave for an emergency. Mrs. Threet carried out every assignment with excellence, met every deadline, and communicated well with parents. She also worked well with the group leaders. She enrolled a new student into the program, made sure the payroll was in order, conducted the monthly fire drill, and decorated the bulletin board with holiday greetings. She's very crafty. Mrs. Threet handled every discipline issue according to UCPS guidelines. When Mrs. Byers returned, she found that everything was in order, and she was able to step back into her role smoothly. Congratulations, Mrs. Threet. You are very deserving of this award. And I will now read the Employee of the Month proclamation. Whereas the Union County Board of Education values the hard work of each employee within the district. Whereas performance is an essential part of district operations. Whereas Retta Threet exemplifies the performance, dedication, and teamwork essential to the success of the district and its students. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Education for Union County Public Schools, and Dr. Andrew G. Houlihan, Superintendent, hereby proclaim Retta Threet as Employee of the Month for the month of January 2017. And I ask the audience to please stand and give Ms. Threet a round of applause. Congratulations.
We are honored tonight to recognize the Weddington High School football team for winning the 3AA North Carolina High School Athletic Association state championship. The Warriors defeated the previously undefeated Eastern Guilford Wildcats for a 33-20 victory. After starting the season 1-3, Weddington won its last 12 games, finishing 13-3, setting a school record. Weddington High School senior David Bayer was voted the most valuable player in the state championship game with 10 for 17 performance for 183 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He also rushed 13 times for 74 yards. Would Coach Tim Carson please come forward and recognize his players? Coach Carson.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having us here tonight. It's a real privilege. First would be starting out with Harrison Bowers. Chase Randolph. Jack Jankowski. David Bayer. John Olmstead. Whitner Linton. Eamon Murphy. James Shipley. Richie Laughlin. Chase Turner. John Williamson. Ryan Goldstein. Wyatt Furlong. And also Trey Alsbrook.
One in the county. No. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, let me get this my seat. Yep. I'll send her verbatim what you sent me. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. That was cool. Quick. Oh my gosh.
Dr. Houlihan, members of the Board of Education, that concludes our recognitions for tonight. Thank you.
That moves us to the school innovation presentation.
Good evening again, and welcome to Monroe High School. Again, my name is Mike Harvey. I'm the principal here at Monroe High School. And when asked to make a choice to have a group present on an innovative program here at Monroe High School, it didn't take me very long to know that I wanted our ROTC cadets to present to you what they do each and every day here as a student of Monroe High School, but more importantly, to a lifestyle that they've committed to of service and leadership. At Monroe High School, we certainly value the outcomes that are measured in our accountability standards, but we probably value more the life skills and the characteristics of students that they need to have in order to achieve those great results. Without further ado, I'd like to present to you Major Forrest Jackson, our commander of the Air Force ROTC at Monroe High School.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Good evening, Ms. Merrill, board members, Dr. Houlihan. First of all, thank you for allowing us to come and do this. It's actually quite an honor for us to be here and to be a part of this because we get to recognize a team. And I truly mean team in the truest sense of the word, very much like state championship football team. We've been able to build what we do, not surely based on numbers, but the growth in our leadership activities, the growth in our program, and we've been able to do that. And it started several years ago when Mr. Breedlove hired me, and Dr. Harvey has given us, both of them given us the opportunity to spread our wings to the limits that we would do so. So with that being said, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn it over to our cadet commander, Andrew McDowell, Miss Charlene Chavez, and Miss Mary Beth Black, and they're going to tell you our story. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Like Major Jackson said, I'm Andrew McDowell, and I am the Corps Commander for the 2016-2017 school year. This briefing we're about to present is basically just going to be a broad overview of our unit, and it's going to discuss some of the things that have made us very successful in recent years. So just like many other successful organizations, we do have a mission, and our mission is to develop citizens of character dedicated to serving their nation and community. We believe that character and service are both very important qualities in cadets as well as students in general, so we always try to promote this mission. Some things that are commonly misconceived about our unit is the fact that we're mainly about drill and ceremonies, which is marching or physical fitness or military prep or recruiting. And that's not the case. Although we definitely utilize some of these things, they're not our main focus as a unit. Some things that we do center a lot of our attention around is leadership development, communication skills, community service, healthy lifestyle, and self-awareness. Now, if you look at all of these, you can see a common theme there, and that is that these qualities are all very good in both the military as well as citizens in general. And so for that reason, we try to promote these qualities in our cadets. One of our favorite leadership quotes is, if everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. And we basically love this quote because it shows a demonstration of us as cadet leaders. We realize that our cadet staff has to all be on the same page, and we have to work together in order to move our cadets forward. And so we practice this quote every day of our year. In addition to having a mission statement, we have several goals. Our goals consist of cadet goals, school goals, and community goals. So 2 of our cadet goals are 50% more cadet participation in extracurricular activities. This goal is set over the summer between this year and last year, and so we're well on our way to meeting that goal. Another goal of ours is 10% cadet improvement in the 5 measure areas of our fitness assessment. This is also another thing that we're well on our way to meeting this goal already. 2 of our school goals are to utilize the Monroe High School TV broadcasting facility, which is actually here, and it's a top of the line broadcasting facility. So we'd love to be able to utilize that in order to help spread our word as well as recruit new cadets. A monthly beautification program here at the school and at our partnering school, Central Academy, is another thing we plan to continue. It's already underway, and we'd love to continue. Like, as you can see in this picture, we actually did a stadium cleanup over at Walter Bickett Stadium, and this was done over one of our school breaks. Our 2 community service goals for this year were to participate in at least 5 Union County or City of Monroe community events and to have 2,500 plus community service hours. Now, as far as community events go, this can consist of parades or ceremonies throughout the year. We've already participated in the Thanksgiving, the Christmas parade this year, and we've participated in like Purple Hearts ceremonies and Habitat for Humanity and things of that nature. And as far as community service goes, our goal is 2,500 hours for the whole year. We've already reached 1,400 hours in this semester alone. So we are more than on our way to reaching that goal. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our group executive officer, Cadet Charlene Chavez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Cadet First Lieutenant Charlene Chavez, an NC 931's executive officer. So my job is to basically take care of administrative issues. So from 2011 to 2012, at Monroe High School, AFJROTC was on probation by the Air Force for lack of student participation, which is 10% of school population or 100 unduplicated cadets. So the Air Force only allows us to account a student as one if they're in both our fall and spring semesters. So we went from 63 students starting off in our first year to 217 students currently, and then we currently have a waiting list for students to get in our program. So that's a 160% increase of unduplicated cadets and a 240% increase in seats. So over the past 5 years, as you can see, over the past 5 years, we've grown tremendously. And we've increased in unduplicated cadets, and with new students coming in and reserve students that keep coming back semester after semester. Our growth in numbers come from our students' increase in morale. They're getting passionate and they're owning being cadets while living by the Air Force core values: integrity, service, and excellence in all we do. That's why they keep coming back. Not only is this all visible by our student body, but our administration and staff at the high school. It's also coming from word of mouth by other cadets to students that are interested in our program that are yet to come from the middle school. So we already have cadets on our waiting list. We have cadets that are not yet into our program or in spring semester, but they're allowed to participate in our after school programs, which we have many to offer. We get tremendous support from our leadership, our instructors, both instructors and the staff here at Monroe High School, the principal, our teachers. And this allows us to expand our vision of what we want to be, and it allows us to have higher expectations for the students here at school and our cadets in our program. With higher expectations and the growing numbers in our programs, we had the tremendous opportunity to acquire an extra trailer to have more space for afternoon programs like rocketry or Raider team, or just to have leadership lab activities during classes for officers to go and discuss new programs that they want to introduce to our staff and our instructors. This is how we engage students, to have programs running almost every day after school. There's never a day that you don't see kids from ROTC staying after school, and this is such a great environment for kids here at Monroe, especially because our ROTC programs, there are some kids that this is the only stable place they have in their lives. So we are so very grateful for all the support we have here at our school for our ROTC program. This allows us to just run with ideas that we have. So if we have an idea, we want to start a new club in ROTC, like our rocketeering, like my friend Tafner, he wanted to start this rocketeering program after school. He got approval from it and he just ran with it. So it's been growing, that we have kids earning badges like you see here on our chest. I hear badges from all the programs they're involved in, and they earn these. So we get to participate in so much, and so we're so grateful for that. So, and any new idea is we get it's all open, and we get so much support. So they're kind of getting it. So we have like this thing between us that when we see a kid that actually gets our program, what's it about, and that allows them to take over and use excellence into everything they do, from like the sports they involved in, outside of ROTC, in their lives, in their academics here in school, and the sports they participate. It allows us to use that just out of ROTC, and like it grows us as a person. We've seen so much growth, even between us. We've seen so much growth, and it gets noticed. It means something here. So we're very grateful for that. So no further ado, Cadet Major Black.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Cadet Chavez stated, I'm Cadet Marybeth Major Black. Cadet Major Marybeth Black. I'm the NC 931 Operations Officer for this year. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about some extracurricular programs we have here. So as you can see, we have a very long list of our extracurricular programs, and Charlene went into this a little bit. She stated that there's always cadets staying after school doing something, participating in something. So first and foremost, our honor guard, that consists of color guards, not only for Friday night football and basketball games, but we also participate in community ceremonies such as the Purple Heart Association presentation and the Union County Christmas Parade. We're also given the opportunity to attend numerous drill meets every semester, where we go and we compete with other schools in the county for trophies, for drill trophies. Our Raider team is basically our athletic portion of ROTC. Most schools have either an all-male Raider team or co-ed teams. We just competed not only with an all-male Raider team, but our first ever females team. So that was a big accomplishment for our unit. Orienteering is basically just a big scavenger hunt in the woods. It focuses on land navigation skills, common sense. You got to learn how to read a map and a compass, and speed. Cyber Patriot is a national youth cyber education program. It inspires high school students to pursue careers in the STEM fields. Model Rocketry program, as Cadet Chavez stated, was a cadet-created program. A cadet wanted to have a rocketry program, so he made it happen. This just provides an opportunity for cadets to learn the basic principles of aerospace rocketry, learn how to build rockets and launch them. Kitty Hawk Air Society is basically just the National Honor Society of ROTC. It develops leadership abilities, and it recognizes academic excellence. Awareness Presentation Team was created to provide positive role models for elementary and middle school students. So they go out and they talk about topics such as peer pressure, sexual issues, violence, and drug and alcohol awareness. Drone and Model Aircraft Flight School is another one of our many programs that focuses on the STEM careers and inspiring students to pursue careers in science, engineering, technology, and math. Stellar Explorers is yet another one that focuses on the STEM careers. Just inspires high school students to pursue studies and careers in the STEM fields. These are two of our programs that we hope to incorporate in the following semester. So our Academic Bowl team is a College Options Foundation team. It's dedicated to enriching academic development and basically just preparing students for higher education. And some of the benefits of this program are improved SAT and ACT scores, increased interest in college admissions, increased leadership skills, and hands-on learning, which is very effective when you're talking about the college aspect of things. So Public Affairs team is dedicated to collaborate with Monroe High School broadcasting team to provide multimedia services to not only Monroe, but our CATA Air Force Junior ROTC program, basically just to get our name out and make us known. And Andrew McDowell is going to talk to you guys about Cadet Leadership School that we go to every summer.
Thank you. Cadet Leadership School, we chose to end with this because it's actually one of the most utilized tools that we have here in JROTC and in JROTC units throughout the county and throughout the country. This is actually a tool that's been around for a very long time, and it consists of a week-long camp that's usually held over the summer. And this camp consists of multiple cadets from all over, and they come together, and it's a very intensive program. It lasts usually, there's like long days, you have 18-hour days, you have a very, very, very tight schedule. But this is basically just to teach cadets the qualities of leadership and time management and team bonding and all of these different activities. And there's multiple different ones you can choose to go to, but all of them have the same kind of overall goal, and that is to train cadets, cadet officers, and cadet leaders to come back and implement these things that they learned in their own units. We actually send cadets every year. We choose our top performing and our top cadets that show the most potential, and we send them to Cadet Leadership School, and they go off and they learn these new skills and they bring them back to our unit. A quote we like to finish with is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And this is just another one of those things that kind of reinforces that spirit of teamwork and team effort that we love here in this unit. Together, we've accomplished so much, and this slide is just kind of to show you some of the measurable outcomes of our achievements. We've had over 50 events, and as I said earlier, over 1,400 hours. Some of the things we participate in is the Monroe Coat Closet, which is actually something that our cadet executive officer introduced to us. And this is just, as it says, a coat closet that we go, and we usually send cadets weekly over, and they help organize and sort, and they have like a store. Another thing we do is, this is actually the first year we've done it, is the Veterans Day Salute at Golden Corral. And this is on Veterans Day. Veterans came over, and we actually sent a very large amount of our cadets over to help serve and just spend time with those veterans and then show them how much we appreciate them. Another thing that I myself coordinated this year is the Community Blood Center Drive of the Carolinas here. We actually held it here during the day, and it was open to students, teachers, and citizens in the local community. And we actually had a record-breaking blood drive this year. We donated over nearly like 400 units, and it was very successful. The Union County Christmas Parade is another big one that we love to go out and just show our support to the city of Monroe. And then Operation Christmas Child is another thing that we thoroughly enjoy doing. We send some cadets up to the factory, and they can put boxes together, and just we love to give back. That's what we love to do. At this time, I'd like to open it to any questions that any of you might have. I would like to say I'm black and white. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, sir.
I have a question of you three. How many anticipate going into a military career?
Excellent. There you go.
You will represent our country very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We will move now to public comments. And we do not have any signed up for tonight. So we will move now to approval of the open session meeting minutes from June, July, and December.
I move that we approve the open meeting minutes for June, July, and December.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and now we have the consent agenda with 4 items having been removed earlier.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, good evening. I want to give a special thank you to Dr. Mike Harvey and the team here at Monroe High School for all of your hospitality this evening and for hosting. And I also want to say to all of Team UCPS, welcome back. Welcome back to the school year, to a new year. I hope each of you had a restful and relaxing winter break. I know I did. And we're looking forward to a great second semester and to closing our school year out here in June, which will be here right before you know it, I guarantee. I want to say also good luck to our high school students. They will begin exams in just a few weeks, so best of luck to you. Something that I'm really excited about coming up next Tuesday is going to be our first ever Union County Public Schools Twitter chat. The topic is going to be what's working for you this year in terms of success. It will be broadcast at 8 p.m. We have an administrator and a teacher that are co-facilitating this. It's open to teachers, staff, administrators, and the public. We're looking forward to it. You can follow along using the hashtag UCPS chat for the conversation. And I want to thank our 2 facilitators for stepping out and hosting this monthly social media event. Couple of school shout outs. We've been talking really a lot about this idea of college and career readiness. And I've been talking with our elementary school principals about finding a way next year to ensure that all of our 4th grade students take a college field trip to a college, either local or in the state or regional. And that's really important to me and to our team because we realize that kids need to be exposed at a very early age to the opportunities that are out there for them. And oftentimes, if you don't get to see it, you don't know that it's there. And so I want to give a shout out. I gave our principal today a Team UCPS hat for this. Just today, the students at Walter Bickett Elementary Center, all of their 4th graders visited UNCC. They went to a women's basketball game. They got a campus tour. They got to go into classrooms and see the athletic facilities. From what I understand, Dr. Benfield said they had an absolute ball. She's not waiting till next year. She's saying we're doing this now. It was a free event. It was the only school in UCPS that signed up to do it. And so that's the kind of vision and approach for all of our elementary schools that we're going to ask for next year. So a big shout out to Dr. Benfield and to the Walter Bickett team. We've also been talking a lot and doing a lot of work around using data to make informed decisions. And prior to the winter break, I had the chance to go out to Sun Valley Elementary, where they've been doing a lot of work under a brand new principal on data. school-wide data use, grade level data use, student data use. They asked me to come out and actually train their staff on how to develop team goals and classroom level data. And so it was it was the first time I think I've been back in front of a elementary staff leading a professional development opportunity. And I want to say a big thank you to Susan Rogers and her team. It was absolutely phenomenal. They're doing great work. If you haven't been to Sun Valley this year, go check them out. As you may have heard, we have a little potential issue coming in this weekend with severe weather. I told our principals this morning, safety above all else. Safety will always come first for us in Union County. And as of about 2:30 this afternoon, a lot of the major news outlets are predicting an increase in weather and in winter precipitation. Union County is now under a winter weather warning. So I wanted to let everyone know, let the board know already, all school and district activities for UCPS will be canceled for Friday evening, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. That includes clubs, athletics, band, driver's education classes, etc. Our after-school program, our UCPS-run after-school care program, will close at 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. Again, we want to make sure that folks are safe, that our kids get home, that our employees and that our parents get off the roads. Staff will remain in contact with our local and statewide and regional officials. We'll be monitoring throughout the weekend, and any updates that we have will be communicated to the public via social media, our website, and other media channels. And finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to 9 members sitting around me. If you didn't know it, January is School Board Appreciation Month here in the state of North Carolina. And I would like to thank each of the members of our school board. Number 1, for volunteering. Number 2, for your leadership. And number 3, for your support and commitment and dedication to our children. We all celebrate you. We all appreciate all that you do for our school system. And on behalf of all of Team UCPS and our administration, thank you. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Dr. Houlihan. So next we will have the school calendar for 2017-18.
I come to you tonight, members of the Board of Education, to request the approval of the 3 calendars we have: traditional calendar, year-round calendar, and the early college calendar. There are over 30 members on the calendar committee. They've worked diligently this fall. Met 2 times. We had board member, education member on there. We also had principals, teachers, parents, and students on this committee. There was a survey that was completed by 1,333 folks, respondents to the survey in questions such as early release or which days you want to be off for the holidays. And so the data was looked at and reviewed by the calendar committee. On their second meeting, they did approve a calendar, or they did recommend to the superintendent a calendar of 180 days, which exceeds the 1,025 hours by a large amount of hours. They also selected the days for the annual leave days, the work days, and the early release days were added to it also. This was taken to the Strategic Planning, Technology, and Transportation Committee and was approved by this committee. And we are requesting your approval at this time.
Are there any questions?
Strategic planning.
Well, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the survey. How many people in particular surveyed positively about the bank/early release days?
Yes, ma'am. The early release days had 46.4 respondents that were in favor of it, 39.8 respondents that were not in favor of it, and 13.7 respondents that said they needed more information to make an informed decision.
And what is the attendance rate on these early release days and bank days versus a regular school day?
The attendance rate versus a regular school day. So we looked at basically 2 days for a regular school day. Before we've had 2. early release days. So we sort of gauged the first one, the October 3rd day, early release day, we gauged it besides September 26th. And the December 7th day, we gauged it by the December 6th day.
Can I ask why those days were picked, between which days that you selected the?
Well, the first one was picked specifically because it was a week prior to that. What did it look like on this day,
Okay.
on the same day? And the second one, the second was just strictly, we're now into a regular schedule here. What did it look like yesterday? What did it look like today?
Okay.
Okay. Because the first one I think was held on a Friday. The second one was held on a middle of the week, Wednesday. Yeah. So I can give you the sets of numbers of the attendance rate. So the regular day on the September 26th by elementary was 97% attendance on that regular day, 93% attendance on the early release day on October the 3rd. The December 6th regular day was 96% in attendance, 93% not in attendance.
And that was for middle school?
That was elementary.
Oh, that was elementary.
Yes, ma'am. For middle school, it was 96 for the first day, September 26th, it was 96% attendance. For the early release day, it was 95% attendance. For the next regular day, it was 96, and the next early release was 95. So it was same both categories. And then in the high school, it was on the regular day, 95% attendance. On the early release day, 95% attendance. On the second normal day, 96% attendance. The second early release day, 95% attendance.
And you mentioned before our meeting, what was the attendance like prior to the Christmas break, where we had the short week, we had the 2-day week?
Yes, ma'am.
And also, if you could get the information for us before Thanksgiving.
Yes,
what
ma'am.
the attendance was like before Thanksgiving.
Yes, I don't have that one right now, but I do have the 2 days. The 2 days before the winter holidays in elementary, 93% attendance on that first day, Monday, 92% attendance on that second day. For middle school, it was 92% attendance on the Monday, 88% attendance on the Tuesday. And for high school, it was 90% attendance on Monday and 83% attendance on Tuesday.
Okay. One more question that I have in regards to the calendar. In December, this year we had 2-day week, and then we went into our Christmas break or winter break, excuse me. This year we have a 2-week break. And my concern is, especially the low performing schools, that they're out for that length of time and not in a classroom, because we statistically, it shows the longer that they're out, the further they fall behind. Even in, just my experience as a mom, it is very hard to get your children to do, winter break homework or spring break homework, just to keep it up. So is this going to be, how much disadvantage do we foresee this helping our ESL students, et cetera, and especially those schools that are classified as low performing?
I can't answer the ESL. I do know that the research that's out there on year-round schools says it benefits the student if you've got the enrichment in the off session times here. And there's also research that talks about more days and research about more hours and things like that. With regards to our traditional calendar, the normal break that has been requested by the respondents or the calendar committees in the past has always been to have 2 full weeks for a break. The year-round calendar has always been approximately a 3-week break, which is considered their summer, what would have been their summertime, and but they start obviously a lot earlier.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Clark.
Thank you.
Dr. Clark, I have a question. So going back to the winter break, is it normal or abnormal to have 10 instructional days off in Union County Public Schools? Is that the norm, or is this not the norm?
The norm has been the 10 days. This year is the abnormal, and it's gauged considerably by the fact the start time of this year with the legislative start time was so late, starting on August 29th. But normally speaking, it is a 2 full week break that we have.
Okay, and we don't have any control on where the weekends fall or where January 2nd falls as far as us having to come back to school. So, the state mandates when we start and the state mandates when we end. And the state also mandates how many holidays we have to have,
Correct.
how many teacher work days we have to have.
And then you have those sacred cow things that people just want to have on a normal basis, at the expectation of the community.
But just so for everyone's understanding, traditionally in Union County Public Schools and abiding by the state law, we normally have a 2-week holiday
That is
over winter break.
That is correct. That has been traditionally the number one priority for the respondents of the calendar committee surveys. It has been that way every year I've done, followed by a 1-week break at springtime.
Mm-hmm. But we're also required to have so many holiday days on the calendar.
That's correct.
So, okay, thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, and thank you very much, Ms. French. So we did have a little bit of, I misquoted here, I said 180 days, which has been the norm here. The county committee did vote on 178, but we're still well over the 1,025 hours. You either have 185 days you go or 1,025 hours. Currently speaking, in our current calendar, it's basically like 1,080 hours. That would be reduced a little bit by the 178 days, but we're still well within that time frame.
And I don't want to use the S word, the snow word. So if it does, I really don't want it to. And what they're predicting in the temperatures, it could possibly be that if we are out on Monday, that it could be forgiven and not made up.
Well,
Yes.
there is currently, the board has approved a snow day makeup for the current year. That is not on the requested board because of the flexibility in the future. So it would require a board change to that. Thank you.
The one additional comment I'll make, Ms. Merrill was talking about how what the state says we have to do. The one thing the state doesn't tell us that we have to do is around the number of hours our children are actually in school. And you've all have heard me say this. I was a bit kind of perplexed when we moved here because in elementary school, our children start at 7:30 and they end at 2. And so the state doesn't tell us how many hours of the day our kids have to be in school. And for me personally, and I've had some of this feedback, I think it's interesting to study, if not for next year, but as we get through the spring and next fall, in order to look at the calendar for the following year, is there consideration for having a longer school day? In other words, if you want to start at 7:45, you could go till 3:15. That way you've got more hours of instruction. What that also would mean is that as a school system, you wouldn't have to have as many days. So children could get out a little bit early. We'd still have to honor the teacher contracts. I'm just letting the board know that is something as a staff we're interested in researching, getting additional feedback for the future. Can't make that change for next year, but it is something that we'll come back to the board with.
Dr. Houlihan, I wholeheartedly support that research. Having visited my son's 4th grade class, it concerns me that the teachers seem to be in it's almost time constraints that we can devote a certain amount of time to this subject, and then we've got to move on. Even if some of the kids in the class are not up to where they need to be, it's because the time limit's up and we got to move on to English. I also hopeful that we'll have very positive results for, I know at my son's school, Porterridge Elementary, they are studying 2 recess plan for grades K through 3. And if that proves, which I hope it will, I think the expanded day would prove to be worthwhile for that as well, to give our kids younger kids some real opportunities for physical activity during the day to break up their day. So I wholeheartedly support your efforts in that area, and I hope that will bring about some change.
I have a question. How is that going to impact transportation?
The question was, how's that going to impact transportation? I don't know. Right now, I don't know. That's going to be part of what we research and review. At the end of the day, and Sam can comment if we need to, we'll have routes no matter when that's going to be. I think the issue that you'd have is in middle school and high school in particular, what's the impact on extracurricular activities like band and athletics and clubs? Would children be getting home later? If you're going longer, would you be getting home later? There could be a potential impact there. But all of that would be part of what we review and what we analyze.
Just want to make the comment too. I mentioned this at the last transportation meeting facility or transportation strategic plan and technology meeting we had. It's a mouthful. Yeah. If we could possibly look at maybe doing staggered times with some of the elementary schools and share some of the bus routes between the schools. That's something I think we need to look at also.
Getting back to the school calendar,
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the school calendar.
and it doesn't require a second because it came from strategic planning, technology, and transportation. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, thank you. That brings us to the legislative agenda resolution. I believe everyone had a chance to look over the 11 items that were sent to you in your board packet. And I would like to, ask everyone, we'll need a motion to get this approved, to take this to our legislative breakfast. But I would also like to get some feedback from our board members on, as you looked over these 11 items, what stood out to you, what was your number one or two?
I think that my number, they're all, I just want to preface, they're all very, very important. But I would like to emphasize the class size allotment, basically because in the special session, it went through the House, but not the Senate. So I think we've got some traction on this and some notice. And, the biggest problem, I want to say this, especially on the record, because people hear smaller classrooms and they think it's great. And I think smaller classrooms are great, but not when it's not funded. And what this does is, the K through 3 would be smaller, but in some of our schools, we don't have classrooms to actual classrooms, and then we don't have the teachers. And what that will do in essence is for the 4 through 12, it will be increased classrooms. So while it would be maybe great for the K through 3, it would increase and then maybe take away our music program. And so especially when it's not funded, I do not like unfunded mandates.
And if I could piggyback off that for just a half a second, Ms. Boyd, but implementing it so quickly makes it virtually impossible because buildings just don't come up out of the ground instantaneously. And even mobile units, it takes months of setup, prep, even getting the wireless networks into them is not an immediate setup. So that is a long-term goal. That needs to be prefaced. I think that needs to be emphasized, that is something that cannot be implemented immediately efficiently.
And this is one of those that came up, you're welcome, that came up and they passed it. And after thinking about it, they're like, ooh, the impacts, this isn't that great. So I commend for the legislators for coming back and saying, maybe that wasn't a good one in terms of the House.
And the good thing is that the Senate didn't vote it down. They just didn't take it up in the short. So
right, yes, they haven't seen
But I
it yet.
agree that the class size allotment is our biggest issue. And I think it's an issue for every school district across the state.
Right. So, and then while
teacher pay.
Oh, yeah. And then, yes, teacher pay. And then the charter school funding strategy. We just can't, that's like every year we're talking about charter school payments. So I won't go through all mine. I'll let other people give theirs too.
Yeah, I have those three circled as well. Another one in addition is the school calendar. I'm very much in favor of the proposed. Having a high school student, I know coming back from a break, and especially as we're looking at next year, coming back from 2 weeks off, basically going for a week, week and a half, and then starting right into exams, it's really tough to pick that momentum back up. So if we are able to shift that ahead, finish more like a college calendar would, where you finish your semester out, you have your break, you start your next semester.
To address that, Joe, after I taught for 15 years, I became a proponent of year-round school. When we go to year-round school, we determine our own start date. And when I first started teaching, we tested before Christmas, and we got out on Memorial Day, and we had higher scores in my mid-level achieving kids in career and technical education classes. We regain control of our calendar if we go year-round. Now, everybody says you can't do it for athletics, but football starts in August and school don't start till August 25th. They have basketball tournaments over Christmas and there's no school going on there. And so I think that's something that I would like to hear input from the public about. And I think on the legislative agenda, Ms. Heintel is right. The Senate didn't take it up. But the one thing I've learned, everything I say or do has an action. And I would ask us to be mindful of posts and tweets and social media comments, like what's going on in Raleigh with one side or the other, because these people read those things. And we are part of a team. 9 of us, 5 commissioners, 5 legislators. And we need to work with them. I mean, if sometimes a no vote is just not taking it up. And I think we should be real careful of how we criticize our legislators, because we need them to be able, when we call on them to help us, we need listening ears.
So, Mr. Rape, am I understanding that the school calendar is also your top priority?
Well,
or I mean, all of these are extremely important, but are you suggesting
my
that
top priority is
on this list?
I wondered why we were bringing up the funding moratorium to them tomorrow.
Well, because it was addressed to Union County Public Schools, and they have mandated that we work jointly with the county commissioners to put together a 5-year capital outlay plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's due very soon, so we have to get this rolling.
Well, I have had 2 commissioners ask me to recommend to you a joint working committee like we had before, with the board, the chair, the vice chair, appointing our part of that 24-member team. And because the 2 commissioners I talked to, they said, we think it's very good for us to talk together. And so, and it was Commissioner Simpson and Commissioner Helms. They said they thought it was a positive thing when we were sitting down. But it doesn't need to become a social event. It needs to become talking about what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else want to?
Oh, sorry. And then, since no one else was saying it, I think that the assistant principal pay, that's a huge, we're losing, principals and assistant principals. And we've always put that on the list, but, maybe some extra emphasis on that one.
I agree on that, teacher and the AP and principal pay.
I do have a question on that. Dr. Houlihan, would assistant principal pay come from the state legislators or a county level?
I don't know. Where did David Clark go? Probably a combination though.
It's state, their state pay, there's a state salary schedule, and we have some locally paid, and Dr. Clark, jump in if I'm wrong. We have locally paid AP, so we pay them according to the state salary schedule.
That is correct. The state sets a salary schedule for.
But what I'm saying,
The locally paid ones are ones, the state pays for an AP on a ratio, 800 to one for every 800 kids. And in Union County Public School, there was a decision made to have principals at elementary schools with more than the 1 to 800 ratio, and those are paid locally.
well, that's why I think it's very important that we have a good relationship with our legislators.
Right, it's still the same state pay
That's correct.
schedule, right?
That's correct.
Okay, well, if there are no more.
Well, I did.
Okay, okay.
The A to F grading, I think, is really important to be addressed, especially in Title I schools where, and I'm going to use East Elementary as an example, they had such improvements last year in their growth. But because of these mandates, they are still considered a failing school. And the principal, Mr. Ferguson and his staff have worked tremendously hard. Not that other schools haven't. I'm not saying that at all, because this one just came to mind. I think it's very unfair to label these schools as failing or D schools when there are such growth and potential in these students. And I think it gives them a horrible handicap, and it puts in the mindset of the teachers and the students and the parents and the community that it's not a quality school. And that's far from the truth. Also, I would like to see emphasis put on reduced testing. Since we went to the M class, especially in elementary schools, the amount of assessments taking in reading alone is every, how many days now? I'm trying to remember.
Well, there's a beginning, middle, and end of year, but then in between the beginning and the
M
middle,
class
it's
is a
it's
constant.
ongoing.
It's constant, and I don't see. This also is not only going to be beneficial to the students, but to the teachers as well, because the amount of assessments that teachers have to do, and a lot of it in elementary school is a one-on-one, and it takes away from other instructional time. So I think that is critical that we discuss the reduced testing in every level of school.
Ms. Helms, if you would like us to bring that back to curriculum, I agree with you. In 1999, we did a pre-test and a post-test.
Right.
And that way,
And
for
we-
East Elementary, it would show progress.
Right, and a lot of times they do a beginning of the year.
Pre-test.
Yes, like a end of the grade testing. But correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Houlihan, this is mandated from the state. The M class is mandated from the State Board of Education, correct?
That is correct, as is as part of Read to Achieve, which is third grade reading, which you all know I am a big advocate for, getting all of our kids to read at or above grade level by the end of third grade. However, that is the only state mandated grade level at the elementary level, as an example, where all of the third graders must take a beginning of year assessment. And that window can last for a period of 5 to 10 days, right at the beginning of the year, as opposed to using prior data from kindergarten, first grade, second grade, et cetera, to understand where children are.
Well, would that pre-testing, post-testing not show more progress if a child progressed a long ways?
Absolutely. My only point was that is a state requirement, as opposed to us as a school system saying in third grade, we want you to do that pre-test. That was the example for them from a legislative point of view.
Well, and Dr. Houlihan, correct me if I'm wrong too, the M class really kind of ties the hands of teachers that are using new and innovative ways to teach our kids how to read, like chunk words, sight words, things like that. It really, and even into their writer's workshop, it really ties their hands of new and different things that they can use. Is that correct?
It may be. I'm not sure how to answer that as a yes or no. I just know that when M class, I actually believe is one of those tools where, as a early primary years teacher, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, it does give you good data. I think your teachers would say it gives you good data. The frustrating part is it's all got to be done online. and through technology. So often when the devices are, not what they need to be, or we need to refurbish or replenish, or they're having technology issues, that's very frustrating for a teacher. It does align with what we do from a curriculum and instruction standpoint. I think the idea is when we look at the balance between assessment versus instruction, my concern is always going to be, are we assessing more days than we're teaching?
Well, and the pressure that, especially in the elementary level, in my opinion, that is put on EOGs for these kids to perform, it's some of these kids have horrible anxiety attacks from it. I just think testing is just too pronounced, in my opinion.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think some of these are doable this year. It is going to be an abbreviated long session. And I think we also need to engage the newly elected superintendent of DPI with these also, kind of give some priorities to him.
Any more comments? Okay, we would like to get this approved so we can take this to our legislative breakfast tomorrow with our representatives.
Make a motion to approve our legislative agenda resolution.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. It's really good feedback from each of you. Thank you. Okay, so next we have the bond implementation project schedule.
Madam Chair and members of the board, we had a facilities committee meeting, and at the direction and consultation with the facilities committee members, you have a copy of the facilities schedule, which was adopted by the facilities committee. It's the arrangement of the geographic and calendar arrangements of the 7 projects that were approved in the bond referendum. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Maybe you could walk through, I guess, why they were the order that they're in, if they were different from what originally, just kind of walk us through it.
Well, the 2 major changes, and I shouldn't say major, that's the 2 priority changes. The transportation facility remained first, most significantly because we already have blueprints for that facility and the property. And that was probably the linchpin of the first and second item. The Monroe High School bond referendum, we're already doing work there and are recommending the same architect. So it probably would be, that would give it a jump start.
They're really 1A and 1B, not first and second.
Yeah,
They're both at the exact same time.
Yep. Sun Valley High School is the major project and probably the most significant in terms of time frame. And that's why I think the facilities committee moved to put it at that point. I guess you'd say 4A and B are there because they're on the same campus. And we do hope we have, well, we hope, but don't require that the same architect would consider the same contractor, I'm sorry, would consider doing both projects simultaneously, which would make it a lot easier to supervise if we have one general contractor rather than 2 on the same campus. And then Piedmont and Western Union, not that they're any less significant, but in terms of the time and the budget priority, they fit in well at that point because they're not as truncated and they take a little bit less in terms of planning and actual construction time in the timeline of the overall 7 projects.
And I will tell you, they're all getting started within 6 months. So really, when we sat down and we looked at it, I think when it goes out farther, you get it because Sun Valley has the most renovations that's being made to it. But really, they're all within a 6-month start time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. I guess the other thing that I would like to because I assume we're going to be giving this to the Board of County Commissioners when we talk at our Monday joint meeting. Can we just make the order on the bottom match the order on top so it's easier to go between the 2?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. The the chronology on the top matching the chronology on the bottom.
Well, no, the scope of, so it
Yes.
starts with Western Union, but down here,
Yes.
it would just be easier to read it. And then, and this is just something little, the new transportation facility, it would just be good if we could put a little color into that. There's 16 bays, 1 wash bay, just to kind of give some background. This doesn't really tell us what, more detail. Thank you.
And I would recommend bringing the architectural drawings and everything that you have shown the board before, bring that to the joint meeting with the county as well, since we already have the architectural drawings.
Yeah, any ones that we have, we intend to bring. Yes.
I have a comment on the Sun Valley project. I think you could almost break that down into several projects. Personally, I would like to see the highest priority given to the kitchen cafeteria expansion and upfit, as I think of all pieces of the school, that is the highest need, since even currently they exceed capacity in the cafeteria, and it's only going to get worse. So,
And we did discuss that at the facilities committee
Okay.
meeting as well, and that is a priority.
Okay.
We're only in
Excellent.
the architect phase right
Right.
now, and then we'll move from that. And it was discussed, yes, exactly. But I agree.
And out of these projects, we just have plans for one, just transportation facility? Right.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was on the old bond and they read the renderings and everything. Any other questions? It's an action. Okay. If we don't have any other questions, I make a motion to approve the bond implementation project schedule. No second being needed, as it was unanimously adopted at the facilities committee.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Thank
you.
Don't sit down.
Stay. We will move now to the Monroe High School facilities contract, the Sun Valley facilities contract, and the transportation facilities contract.
Right, and we pulled those off consent agenda just to talk for just 2 seconds. With respect to the Monroe and the transportation facility, Monroe, as Mr. Delaney explained earlier, there's already a project going on at Monroe High School with respect to the auditorium. So we'll be using the same architects that we use for the auditorium to kind of piggyback the two together. So that is the recommendation that you see from staff for Bergman and Associates. It's below the soft cost that we had originally thought it was going to be. And with respect to the transportation center facilities architectural contract, it is the same one from 2008 that did the renderings and the work back then. It has to all be updated for current code and things like that.
Correct.
So that's where those two came from. When we get to Sun Valley, that Sun Valley has a project advisory committee made up of parents and community members and students as well. The project advisory committee and staff met with interviewed three different architectural firms, and they recommended Little Diversified Architectural Consulting. And you'll see in your packet, there's some information on that. The only addendum that we were talking about making to the motion to approve the Sun Valley architectural firm, or to recommend it, is that we would like to amend it to say that the architectural firm is going to look at more than just a new stadium. They're going to look at a couple different options to what can be done at Sun Valley with respect to the stadium and the football field and that kind of stuff, instead of just a wholesale new stadium. And then the other thing was we just wanted to pull them off because we also need to bring this to the county commissioners on Monday night at our joint meeting to talk about and get approval on the soft costs when we talk about soft costs in general. Sorry, that was a roundabout way of getting there.
Ms. Hintel, what are we going to make it conditional upon approval Monday night?
Approval from the county commissioners for the soft costs, correct. We can't enter into these agreements until we have approval from the county commissioners for the soft costs. But the Sun Valley one will be conditional on the addendum showing that we would like to see additional options with respect to the stadium.
Right, but that contingent on funding, we need to add that to all three.
All three of them. Sure.
I make a motion that we amend the three bids to word that
Go ahead.
It's approved contingent upon approval by the county commissioners for bond funding release.
And that got approved at the facilities committee, so it doesn't need.
I just had a quick question too. As far as Sun Valley goes, has that been looked at as ever being a design build project or a design build bridge?
Well, that's part of the purview that the architect would have to examine in the scope of the entire project. Yes, because one of the major portions of that is the classroom addition wing, and location of that is very important. That's a consideration in all of the individual projects, but more significantly in Sun Valley because of the geography of the current building.
Mr. Delaney. But I think when I was talking to Mr. Helms about that, if we went design build, we would start, would you explain how you explain that to me?
Yeah, with design build, you basically hire the contractor and architect at the same time.
Right.
And design build bridge, you would hire a preliminary architect to design 35% of the work, to do site surveys, classroom additions, what have you.
It's actually, I don't like to use this as an analogy, but it's like building a fast food restaurant. There are certain things that are already pre-established when an architect and a builder come in together. It's a package very similar to the new charter school at Indian Trail. That's a design build from Berg in Wisconsin. And it's I don't want to say it's monolithic, but each component has its own design and builder that comes with it as a component. I've actually.
That actually makes no sense to me, what you just said.
Well, in a previous life, I've done a design build school at Wallace, South Carolina, and the architect and the builder come as a package. They've done work before, and it's actually laid out. Even there isn't any planning for the actual building. It's already pre-established. You pick the building.
I didn't understand.
Sometimes.
But yeah. There are several design build options. Yeah. That's just one of them, the most common.
And each has its benefits and disadvantages.
Yep.
Any more discussion? We have a motion, does not require a second, so all those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Delaney. We will move now to fund balance flexibility requests for Board of County Commissioners.
I think we actually switched 16 and 18.
Oh, we did.
We're on transfer request for
Yes.
charter school funding.
I did not read my revised numbers.
All right.
So 16 transfer requests for charter school funding.
Yes. Basically, the long and short of the story is we are currently with a deficit to finish out the fiscal year of some $2.5 million of monies that are basically not ours. They are owed to the various charter schools that Union County students attend. And that is, of course, a legal obligation. We are proposing to request of the county commissioners, because there is a time element to this. We basically have funding to make the January payment, right, Dan? And then we're scratching around. So we are going to propose, and this is through the Finance Committee, we are proposing the $2.7 million that was currently earmarked for new laptops for our teachers, that 2.5 and change be diverted from that in order to meet the funding need to address our charter school obligations for the rest of this fiscal year. In total, we will spend, funding will flow through UCPS to the tune of some $6.3 million that will be paid to the various charter schools. What are there, 15, 14, 15, where Union County students attend. In the current way the system is set up, the charter schools get their federal funding, any federal grants, of course, from the feds. The state funding for their allotment is paid directly by the state, but local funding, operating funding, flows through the local school system. So we basically are the conduit from the county to the charter schools to make sure that the attendance information is correct and collected and passed on to the county, and then the funds flow back through us to the charters. So it is not our money. It is money that is passing through us to the charter schools. So the finance committee feels our only alternative at this point to finish out this fiscal year is to request a transfer of these funds from the county. And then in the next item, I will address an option we have for replenishing the opportunity for us to still move forward with new laptops for the teachers. Did I miss anything?
I think the only thing I would add to that, or at least clarify, is when new charters come on board in your county, they are initially funded through the state fund, and then that comes to us, and then the state will take money from us for those new charter schools. That's the only exception to what I'd say to what you said.
And let me add one thing that I also learned. The tricky part of it is the funding formula uses the 20-day numbers for charter schools, but we have to set a budget for July 1st. So we won't really know the actual amount the charter schools will be due until we're already into probably through the first quarter of our new fiscal year. So even moving forward, we're going to make our best estimate, and that still may need adjustment after those 20-day numbers and moving forward. That right about that?
That's correct.
Okay.
These numbers were ran as of the mid-December, and I reran them, and there's about another $1,500 that we'd have to work with later, but they move every month because students come, students go. Sometimes students will attend a charter school, then come to us. So those are fluent numbers, and in some cases they just leave the state or what have you.
I don't know if you can answer this for me tonight, or if you want to follow up with me in a few days, but are you able to give us an idea? You make monthly payments, correct, to the 15 plus or minus 15 charter schools. So it's a monthly, you have to do this once a month.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you tell us on average, roughly, what that payment looks like once a month? I mean, because it's not $2.5 million.
No,
That's just our.
It's 1/6 of the $6.3 million. And I didn't do the math. Of course, sometimes I have to pay known charter schools. Like, I don't even know sometimes that some of these charter schools that I'm going to pay. A good example was a Matthews Charter School. I didn't know any of our children were going to go there in July and August. So I didn't even know they existed. So I had to pay catch up in September or October. But bottom line is the answer to your question is the 1/6 of the $6.3 million. Right. Or excuse me, 1/12 of that. On average, of course, in the summer months, I'm giving Union Academy money.
If children fluctuate back and
Right.
forth between the public school and the charter
Right.
school.
Right. By law.
Or if they go off to private school or homeschool, then
That's
that could
right.
change the number too.
That's right. So yeah, so it's 1/12 of the $6.3 million on average It's lighter in July and August. Technically, I don't even know how many students Union Academy has, for instance, but I'm going to pay them 1/12 because I know they're going to have students, and then adjust accordingly monthly.
Okay, thank you.
Since this came out of finance, I will make a motion to approve this request of the county commissioners for transferring of these funds, and will not require a second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next one is, okay, how do we fix this? The county, when they do their budget, they have some would say conservative figure they use for their collection percentage, and rightly so, to be on the conservative side. But as their collections of funds increase over their projected rates, there is a surplus of which we are entitled to our fair share as part of the county budget. Last year, the what they call the school tax rate fund balance exceeded $2.9 million. And that was, the county made the decision to have us utilize those funds for capital projects at Benton Heights Elementary. What I am proposing, what Finance Committee agreed upon, is to request of the commissioners flexibility in how this funding is used. I've had an initial conversation with Jeff Yates, the county finance office. This is I know it's on TV, but I'm not going to hold him to it. It's his early estimation of what this number could be for this coming year. And he is estimating in the neighborhood of $2 million. Now, that doesn't totally replenish the 2.5 million. But remember, we are looking at purchasing these laptops on a lease with quarterly payments over 4 years. So as long as we understand we have a 4-year commitment, we don't have to have the cash in hand in total in order to pull the trigger on these laptops. So we're going to request that for this year, whatever that amount turns out to be, when it's all said and done, and ask for an advance so that when strategic planning, SPIT committee, if you will, decides, is ready to go on the laptop, the decisions made on who we're going to purchase, the terms and conditions, lease, and the terms and conditions, we're ready to go, which we are not at that point today. So let's say we're ready to pull the trigger in April. Well, there's only 1 quarter left in the fiscal year, so we'd only have to come up with one payment, and then we'd be in the next year. So I'm going to propose that we request from the county flexibility in our fund balance, as well as an advance on a portion, at least a portion of those funds, in a timely fashion, so that when we are ready to proceed with laptops in this fiscal year, that we will have the commitment for in hand, the funding for at least this year and possibly all of next year's lease fund requirements. Do you have anything to add to that, Dan?
I do. I just want to caution the board that we just made a transfer from the laptops to pay the charter school bill this year. Well, next year, that 2.5 is going to be there as well. So we just paid a ongoing bill with one-time money. So I have to add that to everything Mr. Side said. So we'll be looking for that as well. Not necessarily from commissioners, but we're working on looking at all of our budgetary needs as well as our current expenses.
You bring up a very good point. I think it is critical, particularly this budget cycle, that we do a better job of explaining the charter school funding commitment that we have in total. I know in the past it's been an opportunity for disagreement, shall we say. And I think it's an opportunity to do a better job of proving this is not our money. We're just the conduit. We're the one doing the accounting. And so you take that entire 6.3 or whatever it ends up being, our best estimate for next year, and you take that right off the top. That's not money we're not going to be able to use. We still got to heat the schools. We got to hire the principals, the whole 9 yards. But you're right. We need to get in the next budget. We don't need to be coming back and using what we hope money will be there to fund what we know is a legal requirement. And so we've got to hit that in our budget process. I agree.
Mr. Science, in the Finance Committee, what I remember that we were going to bring this up on Monday, kind of begin the discussions. We didn't have a motion on it.
Yeah, the only thing we made the motion on was the fund balance flexibility request from the Board of County Commissioners.
So we may or may not have the money to pay for the laptops?
No, we have the money to pay them. We're talking, no,
Not for the
no, we don't.
No. We
Because-
just transferred that to charter.
Now, let me ask
Right.
you, we had how much for it? How much does this balance leave us? We had like what, 2.8-ish?
It was 2.7.
So we have like
minus this.
200,000 left.
Correct.
After transferring the funding to the charter schools, we would have enough, give or take, to pay off the first payment or the final of this final quarter of this year. Now, the issue that we have is, this is where Mr. Sides was going, is once we enter into a lease agreement, we've got to make sure we've got the funding commitment from the county level to continue to make those payments for next year. Because I'm not willing to enter into a lease to pay for a last quarter or a first payment on a laptop lease, give these teachers and the principals their new computers, and then we not have the money the following year to continue in that first year of that contract.
And I just wanted to clarify what we talked about in Finance Committee. So we would need a new motion on this table. We as Finance, this isn't a motion coming out of Finance. That's what all I'm saying.
The motion out of finance was for the fund balance flexibility, which is what you started this discussion with, right? And I, as a board member, agree with you. We need to make sure we have the money on a go-forward basis to be able to make the lease payments, even though we don't have to have the cash in hand up front.
So, Mr. Sides, what you're suggesting is that our funding for teacher laptops wouldn't come until when?
It would come, as Dr. Houlihan said, we would have whatever portion is left over from the transfer of funds for the charter school funding.
The 200,000.
And then the remainder of would come, technically it would come at whatever time frame the county commissioners felt comfortable in releasing the funds. They planned to do it last year in the budget before the fiscal year actually started. So I don't think we're going to have to wait until the new fiscal year is well underway to have a solid accounting for those funds. So I'm hopeful that the remainder of whatever we're going to see it before the new fiscal year. Now, whether we're going to get it all, actually them cut a check, I can't say. That's, of course, open to discussion.
Okay. Dr. Houlihan, are there teachers without laptops currently? Or damaged laptops? All of our staff have laptops in order to educate our children.
Yes, all of our teachers and administrators have laptops. They have the devices now. The issue is the life cycle of these laptops expired to the end of last year.
Okay.
So the feedback we've gotten from principals and teachers and staff has been, it's beyond time to replace them. We have examples of, yes, where they're falling apart, where we've had to send them back to get fixed.
Right.
And that's the feedback I've heard from almost every school.
But we will also have to put out new bids, correct? And the price could fluctuate.
I'm not sure if we need to put out new bids. This is going to have to come back to the Strategic Planning and Technology and Transportation Committee. Because in the last discussion, we found that there were some things that we needed to fix from the last bid. But in moving forward, that will be a decision for that committee. I don't think we need to issue a
So
new
it
bid at the
doesn't
current
expire
time.
like a.
That bid expires
roofing
the middle of February. So we'd have to make that decision on, do we want to do the lease component in the last quarter, no later than February 15th?
But we can't
If-
enter into the contract. Well, we don't want to enter into the contract until we know we have funds.
Correct. Now, if
So
we,
that contract could technically expire.
it could. The bid could expire and we could have to issue a new bid if we need to push the start date back for a contract. So
But one of the discussion that happened at the finance committee had to do with, we have this bill that's due to the charter. And I guess we still will have that same bill next year. It's a recurring bill again. So it's trying to weigh all these things at the same time and make sure that next year's budget is going to cover all this stuff. And another thing that came up at finance or strategic planning, technology and transportation was, what about the student refresh too? I mean, we have a lot of computers and at some point we have to, so that's a big discussion that was had kind of between the two committees as well.
So I think, in wrapping up, I think that, did you make, I don't know if you, I can't remember, did you make a motion that we're going to bring up this flexibility?
I made the motion. We'll need a second. Yeah.
Okay, just that, fund balance, flexibility.
Wait,
Okay.
if it's just for the fund balance flexibility, we don't need a second because we did approve it in finance. It was the additional stuff that you talked about that wasn't part of the motion in finance. I don't mean to put too fine a point on it. Sorry.
So would you answer my question on this fund flexibility?
I'm not aware.
Okay. Well, they don't like calling it a true up anymore. But it's basically what happens, Dennis, is they take in more money than they projected through their budget because they are conservative on their projections. And then they get more money and we get our cut of that money. So it's not, it is technically getting more money, but it's just getting our share of the more money that the county gets. Does that make sense?
So we're not asking them for more money. We're just asking for our part of what.
Right. We're asking for flexibility in how our fair share of what they collect extra and above what they thought they would collect in their budget projections.
For
Some
example,
flexibility to use it.
if they estimated that they would collect 90%, but they actually ended up collecting 97%, then that's the extra that they got,
So
that they,
once the initial split is set, then we are truly partners in the tax income if they collect more.
that's correct, because when they send out all of the statements to all the Union County citizens, there's actually broken out on everyone's bill how much should be going to Union County Public Schools, fire, whatever, but it's broken out for the public schools.
And just as a reminder, last year they gave it as part of capital. So they designated the fund balance, the amount over the amount that they thought they were going to collect for capital, not for operating. That's what we're asking for,
So we're asking for the
flexibility
flexibility.
to be able to use
So really,
that money.
we're asking for more. Instead of them including it in capital, it would be a separate.
Well, see, the
entity.
thing is, just like your personal property taxes are collected now through the DMV, so they're seeing higher collections that they've had, so they weren't estimating. So we're not
And the
asking them for-
economy's better.
And
That's
the economy's
yeah.
better, so we're not asking for more money per se, we're asking for our share of the increased over the estimate.
We're asking
And the
for the
flexibility.
portion that they collected, that they itemized for public schools.
Which we get, but last year was designated for a specific capital
Right,
project.
and we just want to be able to put it wherever we feel we need it.
And maybe collect at least part of it a little quicker.
But we're still left with the problem of next year, we may or may not have all the money for laptops at the beginning of next fiscal year, but we will still have a charter school payment due in this amount or approximately this amount. So we're still using one-time money for an ongoing bill.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're still behind a rock and a hard place now.
We're behind in the charter school payment that we're going to need for approximately 2.5 that we paid for with one-time money this year. And then, of course, other than the $200,000, the 2.7 versus the 2.5, we're looking for that laptop dollars as well.
Well, is it really considered one-time money? Because we budgeted this for laptops. We're just requesting it be transferred to charter school payments. So that's not the one-time money. The one-time money is using the fund balance to make the commitments towards the lease for the laptops. That's the one-time money, because the county doesn't know they're going to get that every year. That's why they do conservative budget estimates. That's the one-time money.
Well, I believe that since we took the $2.7 million out of our fund balance, it's not an ongoing source of revenue. So as soon as you took that money out, you initially budgeted it for laptops. Now you're saying, no, we're not. We're going to use that for charter school. That charter school payment, unless a lot of students don't show up at those charter schools, is going to come at us next year again. Of course, this laptop money that we're going to use that we had isn't there. So we need about 1 quarter's worth of payments for this year, and then 12 months, 12 months, 12 months, and the remaining of the 4-year term to pay for on an ongoing basis.
In essence, in the next budgeting cycle, we need to figure a way so there's not a hole in the middle of our budget during the school year like this. So we need to be able to budget all this stuff into it. And I know this is what you talked about, Gary. We need to be able to budget all this stuff into it so that we're not facing this hole. We need to.
What happened last year is the previous administration's point of budgeting was basically to add as a part of the budget the increase in charter school funding over the previous year of 2.9 million. It didn't really, in my estimation, paint the true picture of the total cost that's going to the charters. And therefore, the county commissioners did not fund that budget item of 2.9 million. So that kind of got us in the mess to begin with. So you're correct. Accurate budgeting on that figure for this coming year is critical, so that everybody knows right off the top, 6.3, 6.5, whatever the number turns out to be. Don't count on it going for anything else, because it's going straight out of here to the charter schools. So you are correct. Most accurate budgeting for this year on this item is critical.
Gary, it's safe to say that we've learned from the situation that we're in now. We're doing some steps like more transparency, bringing the BOCC into play a little bit earlier in the process through the budget calendar that we've established. So we've learned from the situation that we're in, and we're taking steps to rectify that for this upcoming budget cycle.
I got a question too, real fast. Say in a perfect world, the legislator passes the charter school payment going through us. We still going to be down less money, correct? It's not going to be as volatile. So, right. Yeah, for charter school payments.
I'm not sure you said going through us. I mean, that's
being
what's
the conduit.
happening now. We are the conduit now.
Well, I'm saying if we're not, we're still going to be down money though, right?
If we're not, theoretically, the county would pay the whole $6.3 million and any growth that might be associated with it,
Which is
directly.
We're not doing the bookkeeping, and there's no volatility with more kids going to charters, right?
It would never come into our budget to begin with.
Yeah, never come into it. We'll still be down money.
Yeah.
Which will be better, but we just got to account for that.
And we have to keep in mind that the way we're doing it is the way the state law says we have to do it. So we'd have to have either special legislation locally, or the state law would have to change on it.
Mr. Karpinski, how do other counties, I mean, I understand the problem. I don't know how to solve it. How do they deal with it? Like other CFOs, Cabarrus, Mecklenburg?
It's the same process. The problem is when you have new and fast growing charter schools, which is what we experienced this year, the ability to account for all those students is very difficult for DPI. DPI now takes a picture of how many students in total is the county going to get new. And they don't know how many are going to go to these new charter schools. They don't know how many are coming to us. So we have to do our best guesstimate as to what, that's going to be. Last year we asked the commissioners, that we need $2.9 million more. It ended up being 2.5, but that's a difficult calculation, not only because DPI doesn't always get it right in terms of how many students are even going to come to our schools or be resident students of Union County, but they don't know exactly where they're going either. And then there was the wild card of, a charter school opening up right over the border that would have never been on anybody's radar. And that consumed I believe 112 students worth of money that is gone, that we wouldn't have been able to tell from any of these projections that was going to happen.
One more follow-up question. And I have talked with Dr. Houlihan about this one-on-one. Do we not need to separate our budget down into fixed cost and student costs so that, because what we have to give the charter schools is the dollar amount they gave us divided by our students, right? It's like $2,173 per student.
That's correct. We give them their proportionate share of the local.
Well, of that
appropriation.
2,173, what me and Dr. Houlihan talked about, there's a part of that, like Gary said, principals, heating, electricity. It doesn't go down when that child leaves.
That's right. I mean, we still have those fixed costs in hand and have to pay the bills as they come. So our overhead doesn't change, but the amount going to the charter school is proportionately based on the number of students compared to ours.
And I'm not advocating turning the buildings over to the county, but if we were to separate them into a separate school entity, then part of their budget would fund the operation of the buildings, and then it would be a smaller dollar amount that would follow the children.
And once again, we can't do that. We have to go by what the state law is on it.
So the state law does set
and the state uniform chart of accounts governs how we account for it as well.
But then, was it 2 years ago that the county said, just give us the buildings and we'll take care of them? I'm not advocating that, but what I'm saying is, how could they have maintained the buildings?
The charter school funding that we provide doesn't include any of the capital monies. It's only current expense monies.
But we turn the lights on with current expense money, don't we? What?
That's not capital.
No, it's not capital. That's operating. Yeah, and it's a certain fund that the charter schools get the money from. It's not all of our funds, but it's only a current expense operating fund, and it's a per pupil allotment. So it's what we get for students, and so it just transfers through.
It's only from the local current expense fund, and they're entitled to the county appropriation, which we get from property taxes, as well as ABC funds and fines and forfeitures that go through the local current expense fund that the charter schools are entitled to.
Okay, let me summarize what I'm trying to accomplish here. I have made a motion that we ask the county for flexibility in using our fund balance, which has been unofficially estimated, may reach some $2 million, that we have a flexibility to utilize this money in a different fashion other than the capital project it was used last year. And also, if it would be possible for a shorter paid timetable. In other words, would you give us at least some of it quicker? If we choose to use it for laptops, we can add that as well. And then if we decide not to actually pull the trigger on laptops until we have all the money, that's fine too. I'm just asking for the flexibility. My motion just asks for bringing up to the county to ask for flexibility in the use of these funds and perhaps an accelerated payment or partial payment.
And since that motion is different than finance, it will require a second.
I second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion. I don't even know if we need a motion.
We have the motion out of finance.
We have I would like the motion that came out of finance to bring up this funding flexibility to the county when we meet in our joint meeting.
So
What went through finance?
And that's what the motion that I'd like to put out.
Okay, so we have the original motion from finance back on the floor that does not require a second. All those in favor?
Wait.
Oh.
Why don't we summarize for everybody the difference?
You're not in finance.
Okay,
There's too
so
much.
the motion, I'd like to make a motion that we have funding flexibility with any additional money and savings that they find that's our fair share based on our taxes.
Without it being
Encumbered.
dedicated to laptop.
Just funding flexibility. So I'm not saying it could be for laptops or could not, but just the funding flexibility that we as a board decide where it goes.
Or it could be for
It could be for
driver
anything.
increased pay.
Could be
Flexibility.
for anything. And I'm not putting in there a timetable as to when we get it, just the
Right.
flexibility for us to decide how we spend it. That's the motion.
Second.
Is it different than the one that was on finance?
Oh, okay. All right.
Are there any questions about this motion that came from finance?
Let me see if I understand this. Nobody is prepared right now to make a commitment for if we do, the county does agree to this money, that this would go towards laptops.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. And I don't have any, I don't have.
I'm saying as part of the motion so that when we meet with the county, we tell them this is a specific purpose for these funds.
Well, see, the problem I have is that we don't have all the money for the laptops. And so then we might get stuck in a situation where we have to pay our must pays first. You know, I want to get the teacher their laptops, but right now, if you estimate it's 2 million, we have 200,000, that's 2.2 million. That's not going to get us our laptops.
And that's the beauty of having a lease. Because you're not paying for the laptops up front. You're paying
Right.
every 3 months
And-
over 4
And
years.
at this time, when we had that conversation, well, I see what you're saying.
So just getting down to the,
But we have to
Just to give
we have
you
to
an
have a way to
example.
make the payments over time. So we have to have something in our budget year over year for 5 years to make these quarterly
4
payments. 4 years, 4 years on the laptops. We have to have something in our budget available to do this. And all we've talked about is one-time money. And that was what my statement about we really need, and Gary, you talked about this, a budget cycle where we really put everything into the budget. So we're not coming at mid-year going, we don't have enough money to pay our bills. Because I don't want to enter in a contract to buy laptops and not have the money to pay the bills. Because right now we're faced with a situation that we have bills come due February 1st that we don't have the money to pay it.
I mean, I think we're asking for funding flexibility, but we're restraining our funding flexibility.
So
You
with
know.
regards to the funding flexibility, if we get the payment, where does it go? Do we have a line for this already in the budget?
It would be put in the county appropriation revenue, and we would put it where we wanted to as a part of our budget resolution next year.
But they've got to agree to that flexibility before
Well,
we even decide.
What if they pose the question, well, what are you going to use this money for? And we go, well, I don't
And
know.
where's it
We
gonna
didn't
go?
vote
Well,
on
we
doing
can-
it.
we can
We're just going to
tell them-
stash it.
Well,
But isn't the point of asking them for flexibility is that we can use it for what we need in the
Right.
future?
right.
I
That's
think
what I
Quite
said.
in the
frankly,
Go
quite
ahead.
frankly, I would suggest to the board that if you want to earmark it for something, you should earmark it for the charter school payment for next year. If you're talking about 2.5 being the number, that's where we need it for sure. That bill's going to be there for sure.
But Dan, through proper budgeting, we should not have a charter school bill for next year. We should plan appropriately. We should have the funds that aren't ours not affiliated with our budget at all. There should be a place in there that is a line for holding for this, and we should not count on spending any of that money.
And we didn't this year. Last year, we had enough money for charter schools. We asked for additional funds of 2.9. It didn't get funded that way, and that's why we have to make this adjustment.
Well, I think, Mr. Sides, to answer your question, we can give them, we say, well, these is what we're looking for. Laptops, maybe. We're thinking of, but we're still halfway in the year. We really don't know what else is going to come up. We're hoping nothing, but we can say this is one of our ideas. But like Ms. Merrill said, it's our money. We're asking them, they're going to give it to us if they get it, but what they've been doing is putting it where they want. We're just asking them to let us decide. So if they give it, we'll still, so why, if they say, well, what do you want to do with it? Well, we have some things we're working on as a board.
But is it fair to have a line to earmark it for? To Dan's point, if they say, yeah, we're going to give you the payment, we'll write you a check tonight.
Right.
Where's it going to go?
Well, I think if the first step is for them to allow us the flexibility.
Correct.
And then we go back and say, okay, well, now that you've allowed us that flexibility, we'll take a hard look and come back and tell you where. I don't know. I have a problem. I can say we could put it for the laptops. We've done this every year. We had money for laptops last year and we had to take it for teacher bonuses. And I'm not saying I'm glad we had to pay it. And we had the money for laptop and now we have to pay for charter schools. So I don't know. I guess we could say that, maybe that's the old motion. Well, maybe we could. I'm just not going to ask them for money up front because they're not going to do that. But
Can we not just come up with a flexibility line item?
Sure. It essentially would be, our fund balance. That's what it would be. And then we get, as a board and administration, we get to determine where we want to spend that money. I guess the example I use on this situation is, and board members correct me if I'm wrong, I believe for the current year, so last year's budget cycle, every single year we get allocations appropriated to us for roofing. This year, as part of last year's budget development process, instead of the county saying you have to spend the roofing money on the following 15 projects, they said to us, here's the lump sum of money for roofing. You all come up with your plan on how you need to spend that money for roofing. Is that a correct assessment? So I guess, Mr. Sides, what I hear you saying, what I recalled was, instead of saying, here's the 2 million, you absolutely have to use it for capital, give us the flexibility as the board to determine where our best need is so that then we can come back and say, this is how we plan to spend that funding. I don't know if we're there yet. Laptops is an example, but this board has to come to the commitment around using that funds for that, or for literacy, or for whatever it is that we as a team want to put forth. But getting the flexibility first is step one.
yes, that's what I agree. And that's the motion I stand, and we don't need a second. And so.
I agree with Ms. Boyd on this. To bring a little levity to the situation, Mr. Karpinski, could we put it in what's called unrestricted funds? And it truly be unrestricted?
Once we get it, we would have to put it into our budget. And at that point, well, if you put it right into your fund balance, it would be unrestricted until the board decided where they wanted to put it.
And then, Dr. Houlihan, I want to go back to what I said earlier when the two board members said, why don't we get the old panel back together where we work together? And we meet, we have a set meeting schedule with the board and we tell them what we're wanting to do with this unrestricted funds. If we make them feel like they know what's going on, if we bring transparency to it, they will agree to it.
I'm pretty sure that the public by now, and hopefully the board understands that your suggestion and your idea, I'm all for that. I've come in since day one about transparency and rebuilding relationships and trust. I have no problem with that. I'd welcome that opportunity.
Yeah. Call the question. We have a motion on the floor. So without any more discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, motion passes.
With that thing passing, if they don't give us the flexibility, I mean, if they don't give us the money, when's the due date of that money anyway? In other words, when have they got to give it to us by?
Well, what they did in last year's budget was they put it towards a capital project in next year's, in the what is the current year's budget. So they could take the funds and say, okay, this is going to go towards this in your budget next year.
Right. Well, I think with you, well, don't you think that you and Mr. Sides, as our BOCC liaison, can negotiate that to where we need to go based on the board's direction?
Well, nobody's made a decision where to go. We just want to have it.
That's right. But if we put
Until the board decides where it wants to go.
And that has to be decided by the board, not by two. Yeah. Right. Okay, number 18, budget preparation calendar.
Okay, we have included in your packet is a budget, proposed budget calendar. We are proposing, of course, we have the joint meeting this coming Monday. We are proposing another joint meeting with the county commissioners in early April, preferably before our work session, April 18th, with a final date of presentation of our budget to the county on May 1st, which happens to be their May meeting date. And that is a break in tradition of supplying it a little more room before the May 15th drop dead date.
I have a question. January the 9th, which is Monday. I'm going to say the evil snow word again. What is the plan on the table for the joint meeting if we still have inclement weather, if we get inclement weather?
I can come pick you up.
Dr. Houlihan. Dr. Houlihan. Dr. Houlihan and I are meeting with the county manager and Frank Akmus, the chair of the county commissioners, and we can talk to them tomorrow morning and come up with a game plan in the event of snow and then inform the board to let you know what our plans are.
This did come out of finance. I'll make a motion to approve the budget preparation calendar.
And it does not need a second. So all those in favor of this calendar with striking out April 24th to be determined. All those in favor? Aye. I believe that brings us to closed session decisions, and we do not have any tonight. So we will go straight to board comments.
I'd like to thank Monroe High School and Dr. Harvey for the great reception and the dinner. We really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for sticking around. I just wanted to add that the facilities committee put out information on a citizens advisory committee with respect to a discussion surrounding a realignment plan, and that's on Facebook and also on I almost said company, on Union County Public Schools website. So you can find the information there. Applications, which they're very short, are due by January 27th.
I would like to thank Monroe High School, Dr. Harvey. What a wonderful night to be here with all of your employees and your students. Could not be more impressed with this school and what is happening here, especially that ROTC program. Please extend our gratitude for those 3 students and the major being here tonight. That was extremely impressive. We have had a very busy month as a new board, and You guys got sworn in on December 6th, and in a very short amount of time, we formed 5 new committees. And in less than 2 weeks, we had strategic planning, technology, and transportation hold an emergency meeting before break, as well as facilities, finance, and curriculum. And I just want to thank this board for working so incredibly hard so that staff could take care of some very important issues before we left on winter break, including the special meeting that we had to approve the SPIRE program for the for literacy and dyslexia. So I just want to thank this board, and along with Dr. Houlihan, happy Board of Education Month. So thank you.
Dr. Harvey, thank you so much, and to your staff, and to everyone listening, and all of our teachers and staff, Happy New Year. And Team UCPS, we are in 2017 and looking for greater things. I'm excited about our board retreat and strategic planning and getting that together. And good luck to the new board members in your training 101 in Raleigh. So good luck and have fun.
Just want to say thank you, Dr. Harvey, and thank you for what you do here. Like hearing about the ROTC. Just keep up the good work and drive safe this weekend in case of inclement weather.
I'm clearly going to have to start going earlier on this thank you because it just sounds very repetitive. But thank you very much, Dr. Harvey, for your hospitality, to your staff, to the ROTC, did a phenomenal job presenting. To echo what Dennis said, I mean, you could definitely tell those kids are going to go far in life. Thank you also to staff from Central Services for being here on this long evening and putting forth the effort to present and answer our questions. Appreciate it.
I would also like to echo what many of the other board members have said. Thank you, Dr. Harvey, for hosting us, and thank you for the individuals that have patiently listened to our comments, our feedback, and all of the above. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey, and everybody at Monroe High, and Happy New Year.
Dr.
Okay, so
Harvey.
that takes us, Dennis?
I was
okay.
going to say, from my 2006, 2007 year here, the bathrooms look terrific. You used to have to go in there and hold your nose while you used them, and the ceramic tile makes them look brand new. I don't know if they were already done under Mr. Breedlove or if they were done under you, but it really looks good.
Of course, they were done under him.
But well, Mr. Breedlove remembers what they used to look like. They were, and this is the perfect example of taking an old car and driving it a long ways and making it look good. I also would like to say I had something on my mind, and so I would like to ask the finance chair to add to his agenda at the next finance meeting to instruct staff to try to find funding to support a driver raise so that we can fully staff these drivers and stop this, or the buses, and stop these double routes and try to get some more. One interesting thing I did find out, Union County's got the third lowest unemployment in the state, only behind Raleigh and Durham. Union County's at 4.0. Raleigh's number one in 3.8, 3.7, and Durham County is like 3.9. So, you can say you're paying the market, but there's 97 other counties that have higher unemployment than us. And so I'm saying it here because, as I understand, I'm not on finance, so I can't come speak.
Okay, thank you, board. That brings us to announcements.
Melissa, I'd like to announce as I believe it was Matt called it, the SPED committee, the Strategic Planning, Technology, and Transportation Committee. We have moved our scheduled meeting from the 11th of this month to the 12th of this month. It'll be at 7:15 at Central Services.
AM,
AM.
bright and early. Any other announcements? Thank you, Joe.
We have to clear this with staff, but we'd like to have a facilities committee meeting on Friday, January 20th at 8 a.m. And we still have to schedule a policy committee, and Michelle Morris and I are working on that.
Okay. Curriculum? To be determined, or?
On curriculum, I was going to speak to Dr. Jones tonight. I
Mhm.
assumed he would be here, but
We'll wait for that.
I'll speak with him and then we'll get another curriculum committee set up for.
Okay, any
January.
other announcements? Okay,
Motion
to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Good night.